2021, Pitts posted the first 1,000-yard receiving season by a rookie tight end since Mike Ditka in 1961. But after that, it was 3 seasons of injuries and inconsistency in Atlanta before he was able to break out in a big way last season. Last year, he was second among tight ends in targets, catches, and receiving yards, trailing only Arizona's Trey McBride. Booger, when you look at the recent production from Pitts, the way he finished this past season, do you like this deal?
I like the deal. I don't love it. I like it because I think he's earned the right from a standpoint to get a new contract. Let's not forget, this contract pays you for what you're going to do, not what you've already done. I don't love it because I don't think the player has lived up to what we thought he was going to be. We thought he was going to be this matchup nightmare that was going to revolutionize the league. A tight end at 6'4", 6'5", 250 that could run 4.4. He was just going to be a matchup nightmare, and he just hasn't been that just yet. Yeah, he had his career year last year, which how many times have we seen a guy have a career year in a contract year? How come you couldn't do that the previous 3 years when the contract year wasn't there? So again, I'm happy for Kyle Pitts Sr. He got his money. He's earned his money. I don't love it because I don't think the player has lived up to what he thought he was going to be, or what we thought he was going to be coming out of University of Florida.
All right. I love it. I love it. I don't know what you're talking about right here. I've literally been waiting to discuss this since the news broke, and I was like, come on, let's go. Let's go. And they didn't talk about on her. They didn't talk about on First Things First. No surprise there. But I've been feeding and waiting to discuss this. So, I'm glad that we got such a lukewarm response to this, because then I can bring the energy and I can bring the love because I love it, and there's multiple layered reasons that I really want to talk. I was literally thinking about this take last night. I was in the shower. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was just like thinking about it cause I just knew cause this is like the main story that I really want to talk about. So I'm pumped to do it. Before I jump into it, Atlanta Falcons fans, please do not forget to subscribe and watch the full length of the video, as that is without a shadow of a doubt the best way to support the growth of this channel so I can keep making the most unbiased, grounded, honest conversations about the Atlanta Falcons. It makes such a huge difference, and I would really appreciate it. But okay, so I look at this from so many different angles. When things like this happen, anytime you're trying to even figure, should you do this, should you not? What move do we make? Do we sign this player? Do we let go of this player? Do we make a big trade? You know, I always think of the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. You got to think about both, and you got to look at both extremes. And it's actually like a legitimate psychological exercise that you'll teach people who are dealing with anxiety, or stress, or any of these things that can kind of trigger strong emotions, where you think what's the worst case scenario, but you have to understand how to navigate it, because sometimes that can go poorly. Sometimes people are only thinking about the worst case scenario, and it's like doomsday, and then it just makes things worse. But you try to think about okay, what if this doesn't work out, what does it mean? What direction can we go in? And the reality is that the Atlanta Falcons are trying to genuinely build a core. They're trying to build this foundation, which they have a lot of those pieces, right? London, BJ John Robinson, Pitts, all that type of stuff. Now, you need to have these players paid. You need to have these players taken care of. Otherwise everyone's just for rent. You don't really feel like there is a core, there is a culture, there are leaders, everyone's just kind of on a short-term lease at this point, right? There's no roots that are planted. You heard London, he got his contract and he talked about I want to win here. I want to be a legend here. He wants to be an Atlanta Falcon. It becomes part of his identity, who he is, rather than just a stop along his journey. These things matter when you are trying to build something. These things matter when you are trying to build a culture, when you need these guys to be leaders. What I like about this team so much is that a lot of the main players, when I say players now, I just mean the general sense of a player, not like a player athlete, but the main players, right? Like the like Game of Thrones players or something like the players in the Falcons, if you know what I mean. I can't think of a better way to explain it. It's like they're all fundamentally like really good people and they want to be there. They want to lead. They want to succeed. They just I don't know, man. The NFL is just filled with just too many different cast of characters. And so it's like you want these guys here. You want these guys to feel that they are an Atlanta Falcon. Sometimes you can be on a team and you could be on a team for a long time and you don't really feel like you're part of the team. You don't really feel like this is your home. This is the place that you're supposed to be at. And it's just like you do this by locking them up, by giving them that contract, by giving them that money. And that also sends a message to the rest of the team, to some of the new guys, to some of the guys that are also looking for a contract. It gives SA guys also more power in the locker room to be leaders. They feel more empowered. They feel like they care more because this is their home. This is not just a temporary lease. This is not just a 6-month, sub-lease or anything like that. So even just from a culture building and a team building and a family building and a leadership building, all of that, it's like take care of these things now from an actual roster construction. Okay, I love these contracts because 1, I think they'll age well significantly and it sets you up to continue to build, and if things don't go well, like this is the worst case scenario. I call it really kind of boomer boom at the I was really trying to think of like what wording do I want to use, and I landed on boomer boom, but I look at it as boomer boom where your quarterback is healthy, Penix works out or 2 works out, doesn't matter, one of them works out and you're great, none of them works out, you draft another quarterback and you finally get the quarterback of your future, right? Boom or boom, you have the guys in place, you have them locked up in contract. You have contracts that are going to age very well. Awesome. If it doesn't work out, this team just can't get off the ground. Everything's a little bit of a mess. These contracts are healthy enough, good enough that if you just now need to completely rebuild, you're firing, everyone gets fired again, and you just unload completely. These are contracts that are movable and situations that players are going to be interested enough, right? There's maybe going to need some restructuring. Again, this is the doomsday scenario. You're going to get great draft capital. You'll be flushed with draft capital, you'll be flushed with cash, and you'll be able to hit the reset, hit the reset button in a very practical way that really will help you then build into the future. Saw it with Miami, saw it with New York, like if you have some valuable assets tied up in that and movable contracts that a team will be like, we'll take it, right? A team that's on the cusp like we saw with the Broncos, like we'll take it, right? Like you see those moves, saw the Colts, we'll take it. Like it's just very workable, very doable. So that's why I look at it as really like zero risk, and boomer boom. The technically where you get burned a little bit is I guess like if you're feeling pretty good about this team and you have success at the quarterback in London and Bijan, right, and someone like Pitts now is just not quite answering the call, you feel like you overpaid for him. Okay. At best you overpaid him then a few $1 million. Like it's like there's a difference between paying a wide receiver like $4 million when you could have gotten all that amount production from him for some guy in free agency for like a 1-year $20 million contract or something, right? Like which is definitely a possibility that we've seen with some of these contracts like with Diggs or Devontae Adams and all of that. It's like sure then you could look at them from a value perspective and be like man we probably could have moved on from Terry McLaurin rather than lock him up, and I don't remember his contract is and I just used Terry McLaurin as a random example. Not to say that his contract was bad. I just honestly that just name came out of nowhere. But it's like sure did we need to lock up you a 30-year-old wide receiver for $38 million a year for 3 years? It's like no we could have gave ourselves more flexibility. We could have gotten this other wide receiver 2 years, $30 million, right? He just could have found a more favorable contract and got similar production. Again, unless Kyle Pitts turns out to be just absolutely horrendous, an absolute bona fide waste, which he's not shown to be that. Even if you don't think that he's lived up to what he was supposed to be, it's not the other extreme. Not to mention, this team has been a mess. This whole team has been a mess. Okay. So, it's just I'm not really here to judge the ceiling. I'm not here to judge the ceiling of any of these players right now because this team has fundamentally been a mess. Okay. And when you actually saw some consistency at quarterback position and Kirk Cousins was able to deliver that, you saw some pretty great things, didn't you? Yeah, you did. So just this offense has never been able to get off the ground because they've never been able to have coaching quarterback. You've never been able to have any of this consistency. You've never really been in a position where you can actually have these players feed off each other. How many games were we able to actually see the offense be structured in a way where they could actually utilize and enhance one another with London Pitts? Like we've never been able to see that because every single game is just like, alright, guys. Let's just see if we can put this thing together in any way that we can. Let's just hope that we can just kind of get out there and, kind of put together a decent game plan. They've never been able to have any type of momentum. They've never been able to have any type of consistency with having the other team on the ropes where you could now be like, you don't know what we're about to do because we got you cooked. You're going to try to guess one way, you guess wrong. Best of luck, buddy, 'cause it's not going to end well for you. They've never been able to do that. They've never been able to do that in a way that we've seen other, promising cores be able to do. So, I'm just the saying I don't know if he's lived up to this, the ceiling, this down, and there means nothing to me. I'm more comfortable looking at the floor, right? If the floor was devastatingly low and that's why bust potential, which I don't think at this point we could use bust as even like that terminology doesn't even work out. I wonder if there's a better word because obviously we all know what bust is, but what's just someone that's pretty good, doesn't quite live up to his contract, not terrible, but not what we want, not what you were expecting at all. It's not a bust, it's just I don't know. Underachiever, I guess, and I just think the floor is high enough that I'm comfortable with something like this, and I'm comfortable enough with, again, if the whole contract, if you have to blow the team up, a team will be yeah, we'll take this on for 1 year, right? 1 year, we need a playmaker, we need something, we're willing to take a stab at it, right? Like the Eagles are on the brink, or the Ravens. Or it's just you have those teams that are kind of man, we're just a little bit away. You have those contracts that someone will gladly take. We've seen it year after year after year, so that's why to me it's boom or boom. It either works out or you're flushed with assets that you then turn into draft picks and you're ready to hit the reset button. So boom or boom, baby. Boom or boom. So I love it all. Like I said, I've legitimately been waiting. I think it's probably been almost 24 hours now to make this video, and I've been thinking about it a lot. And like I said, I was legitimately in the shower and thinking about I was thinking about leadership and thinking about continuity and growth and culture and how important it is to kind of take, because if you don't do these things, then you don't really have an Atlanta Falcons team. You just have players playing for the Atlanta Falcons. That's what you have. You have players that are just playing for the Atlanta Falcons rather than actual Atlanta Falcons. And I'm telling you right now, there is a difference. There's times that I played and I did not play in the NFL, but there's times that I played that I felt like I was the team. I was the soul of the team. I was a huge component of the team. And there's absolutely been teams that I played for that I felt like I was just wearing a costume. It's I'm not actually really on this team. This is a Halloween costume right now, right? This is the way how you get rid of the Halloween costume feeling. And I promise you, even NFL athletes feel it as well. So, but those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Atlanta Falcons? Do you love it or do you not like it? Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. Whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. PL. Ease, do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as it really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.